Joe Rogan last week made an interesting prediction on his podcast.
Seems to me like the more time goes on, Trump is a shoo-in.
He pretty much thinks it's guaranteed that Donald Trump is going to be the next president. Why does he feel that way? Let's get into this.
Let's get ready to rumble! You can't handle the truth.
Hi, I'm Pastor Marty. Welcome to the Afternoon Drive, which features the rants, the ravings, and of course, the undeniably flawless reasonings of yours truly, Pastor Marty. So glad to have you along. Please make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Once you are, smack the bell, click the word all, and that will allegedly give you notification that I have posted up new content. Like and share this video. That's how we get the word out that we're here. Thank you, and welcome to the Afternoon Drive. Joe Rogan, who a few years ago was not only not really on board with the whole idea of Donald Trump, but used to take opportunity to take shots at Donald Trump on his podcast. Then he began to moderate somewhat as the pandemic began to unfold, and he was vilified by media outlets for taking horse medicine. They outright lied about what he did to treat himself for the Rovid that was happening at that time. And he began to look around, he began to realize that the so-called liberals, which were supposed to be the anti-war, free speech, freedom, let's just live our lives, he was beginning to notice that for all of their talk that democracy is on the ballot, if Donald Trump runs, he's an existential threat, he's a fascist, he began to wake up and realize that the fascism, the restriction of freedom, and the war hawkishness was actually coming from, are you ready for it? Drum roll, the left. It was coming from the Democratic establishment. And he began to pick up on what many of us in conservative media have been saying, that we have a uniparty, that there's really not a nickel's worth of difference between the so-called left and right, Democrat versus Republican, conservative versus liberal. It's really about them, the ruling class, versus us. And they're constantly dreaming up ways for you and I to be at each other and to be against each other so that we're ignoring how they're selling us out through their globalistic ideas. And, you know, they're now things that used to be kept really secret. They're now just out there with Klaus Schwab and this whole idea that you will eat bugs and you will own nothing and you will like it. It will be such a better society. And so as we're watching some of these people on the liberal side, and I'm talking about the Jimmy Dores, the Joe Rogans, as they begin to look around and wake up, I'm not saying they're going to become card-carrying conservatives, but I said here on this podcast, on my radio show, I was saying at the very, very beginning of the so-called Biden administration that Donald Trump will make a comeback, and he will make a comeback doing something that the Democrats will not see coming. Not only is he going to keep drawing support from the people of color, Trump is rocking it in the African American community, in particular among males. I watch a lot of podcasts on YouTube, and I watch a lot of like reaction videos, and a lot of these guys, especially black guys, black couples that react to music, react to movies, they're starting to go political. And more of them who 4 or 5 years ago would have been, I will never vote for Republican. You know, Republicans are racist. You know, Republicans are oppressing us and keeping us down. The more they have been exposing themselves and doing reaction videos, and they have begun to wake up and realize who it is that's actually trying to keep them enslaved and on the plantation, the economic plantation that is, and has absolutely destroyed their future and their families. They've woken up to it. And a lot of them are now on board with Donald Trump. The Democrats are shaken that There's a there are many Hispanic Americans who love Donald Trump, despite his talk about the wall, which he was right about. They support Donald Trump. Why? They worked hard, they came here legally, and they see their own opportunities slipping away because of Democratic policies. Not to mention, I had said years ago that when you could get Black people and Latino people to get past the stereotype and the propaganda that they get fed by the lying legacy corporate corrupt mainstream media and the Democrats about conservatives and Republicans, that they would begin to realize they have more in common with us than they do the Democratic Party. You talk to the average Black family, the average Hispanic family, they're conservative when it comes to their ideas of how society ought to function. They really are. They're not down in any way with all of this, woke crapola. And they do believe in discipline in the home and that kids should be trained to excel and go for it and do their best. And when they see this placating and this patronizing that gets done to their own racial and ethnic groups by the Democrats, they're beginning to figure out that they really think we can't. And these white liberals have got to do it for us, and we should spend then the rest of our lives just groveling at their feet, being grateful that they have done this for us. And you know what? They've woken up to it. They've had it. They're over it. And so I was saying at the beginning of the pandemic, you're going to watch liberals, and this is something that the Democratic Party is not ready for. You're going to watch liberals start to go toward Trump, especially over the mandates, the freedom that they lost, absolutely lost under Joe Biden, under the Democrats, under this fascism, which is as AOC says, we're in unison, which means you're all walking in lockstep, which means you're walking over the American people. Yeah, we get it. We understand what it is now. You're all war hawks from Ukraine to what's going on in the Middle East right now. And by the way, the only reason Joe Biden's going over there is not to show his support for Israel. By him going over there, hostilities have to kind of calm down because neither side is going to put, quote, the American president in harm's way. This allows Hamas to regroup. He's actually doing this as a favor to Hamas. And this so-called humanitarian aid, which he is wanting to send into Gaza. No, this is all about financing and funding Hamas. Remember, this is the guy that released the $6 billion to Iran, and then 2 weeks later, they pulled the deadliest terror attack in Israel. You tell me whose side he's on, even though he pays lip service to, we will always have the back of Israel. Yeah, okay. So we know what Biden's up to. We know what the war hawk in the Democratic ruling class establishment is up to. We got it. So Donald Trump is uniquely poised to grab people on the left who really want freedom and don't want war. And Joe Rogan got into it.
Seems to me like the more time goes on, Trump is a shoo-in. It seems like if this shit keeps getting crazier and crazier, there's going to be a lot of liberals that'll vote for him. He was the one in the beginning. We got to stop people from dying. Like do you want Ukraine to win this war? Remember that conversation? And he's like, I want people to stop dying.
Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I don't think in terms of winning and losing. I think in terms of getting it settled so we stop killing all these people and breaking down this country. Now,
can I just follow up on that? You said you don't think in terms of winning and losing. Mr. President, can I just follow up on that because that's a really important statement that you just made there. Can you say if you want Ukraine or Russia to win this war?
I want everybody to stop dying. They're dying, Russians and Ukrainians. I want them to stop dying. And I'll have that done. I'll have that done in 24 hours. I'll have it done.
Like, which is the best answer any politician has ever given. And the way he said it.
Absolutely. Donald Trump hit it out of the park when he said, I want people to stop dying. Dying. Though just the way he said it, dying. And that really became a big pivotal turning point, even in the Republican Party, that, the people really don't want us funding what's going on in Ukraine anymore. Da-da-da-da. That's why McCarthy had to go bye, 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 bye. And this is why we need somebody like Jim Jordan to become the new Speaker of the House. But that's another commentary for another time. So I think Joe Rogan is all over this. And let me tell you, that will strike fear into the hearts of the Democrats if liberals and MAGA unite. Or I should say progressives and MAGA unite. Even people like Jimmy Dore have been saying now for the last 2 years, I've been saying it for 4, but Jimmy Dore for the last 2 years has said there's more that unites us than divides us. And he's right. We're always going to be divided on certain social issues because of our traditional faith and values. But as far as Americans, when it comes to things like freedom and taking care of America first and making sure that the American worker is properly paid, properly taken care of, we're all on the same page. And to stop funding endless wars around the planet when our own country's infrastructure is suffering, we are paying the health benefits and retirement benefits of the Parliament of Ukraine while half the Americans in this country have no health care whatsoever. Let that sink in. Now, don't tell me that can't be done as far as taking care of Americans on American soil. It absolutely can be. But of course, the real existential threat that Donald Trump is to Washington is not that he's a fascist or he will limit our freedom. No, nay. He interrupts their gravy train. He interrupts the military-industrial complex. He doesn't want us at war all over the planet. Donald Trump recently was in Iowa, and he made some statements, and tell me if he's wrong about any of this.
When I was your president, we had peace through strength, and now we have weakness, conflict, and chaos. The atrocities we're witnessing in Israel would never have happened if I was president, would never have ever happened. When I was commander-in-chief, we reduced the Iranian economy, and I withdrew from the disastrous Iran nuclear deal, imposed the toughest ever sanctions on the regime, and imposed a strict travel ban to keep radical Islamic terrorists the hell out of our country. Now they're pouring into our country. They're pouring into our country.
You know what we were told by the media? You know what we were told by Joe Biden himself? You know what we were told during the entire 2020 election cycle? We've got to get adults in control again. And Joe Biden, it's like having an adult in charge again. Everything will be fine. They cooked up the pandemic to tank the economy. I said that from day one. I got excoriated by Rush Limbaugh on that. And a few months into the pandemic, he actually gave me an apology. He said there was no way the Democrats could concoct anything that could stop the juggernaut, which was the Trump economy. And along came the pandemic and the shutdowns and the lockdowns, and Joe Biden can say all he wants. Donald Trump did that. He did that based on pressure from the Democrats, from the ruling class elite, the feckless rhinos, the wimps, and the evil Dr. Fauci's, who basically, Donald Trump was getting hit from every direction, was basically told, if you don't give us a magic elixir, you will be responsible for 100 million people dead. So some of my MAGA Republicans give Donald Trump a break when he tries to take a half victory lap on Love Potion number 9. We all know what it is, and we all know what it wasn't. But what you got to understand is he thought he had to push that through. Otherwise, they were never, and I'm talking about these lunatic governors, were never going to allow anyone to ever get back to any type of normalcy. They were going to become each individual 50 little czars running their own kingdoms. That was all set up to take down Donald Trump. And then Shazam, Batman. Once Joe Biden got in office, your freedoms would be back. You lost more freedom under Joe Biden. Censorship, deplatforming, take it or else, vax passports, which was cooked up by Mike Pence and carried on by the Biden administration. And finally, the polling was so overwhelmingly, we're done with this, that Biden had no choice but to back up. But let me ask you a question. Does anything going on in the world right now look like adults are in charge? Since Joe Biden took office, all hell broke loose in this country. Over 3 million illegals have poured in, and even Democratic mayors of cities are now saying, stop, close the border. Gee, Donald Trump was right. We had no new wars under Donald Trump. We got Russia-Ukraine going on. We've got literally the Middle East on the brink of launching World War III. And again, you're not going to use diplomacy and reason with some of those people over there because you're dealing with 4th century thinking barbarian ideology. And there you have it. And there it is. And Joe Rogan is absolutely right.
Seems to me like the more time goes on, Trump is a shoo-in. It seems like if this shit keeps getting crazier and crazier, there's going to be a lot of liberals that'll vote for him. He was the one in the beginning. We got to stop people from dying. Like, do you want Ukraine to win this war? Remember that conversation? He's like, I want people to stop dying. Like, which is the best answer any politician has ever given. And the way he said it,